Moving on to what was all but confirmed midweek by Fabrizio Romano, and is that Erik Ten Hag just has to cross the T's and dot the I's to confirm himself as Manchester United manager. And yeah, I want to speak about this pretty in depthly actually, because there's two ways to look at it. There's the tactical side of things, which I'll touch on, and then there's also the intangible things, if you were to call it that. And the intangible things about this managerial appointment will be massive. It is a complete breath of fresh air. You look at United currently; they're a team in turmoil. Their fans hate the board. The board aren't doing anything to solve that friction. The players look uninterested. The tactics are stale. Or maybe the tactics aren't stale, but the players haven't warmed to the tactics at all from Rangnick, and it's a playing squad that's going to need major overhauling pretty quickly. And it's one of those things where what the tactical side of things means is irrelevant if you don't get the intangibles right. And if you look at United's past, or if you look at United's previous managers, it was obviously post Sir Alex. It was Moyes, Van Gaal, and Jose. All managers that perhaps don't play in the same way, but have similar philosophies of defend, or maybe not defend first, but make sure you don't concede. Obviously, Moyes, that was the pillar behind his Everton team for the best part of a decade. Mourinho, perennial deployer of that philosophy, and Van Gaal, despite his play being a very, 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 very subdued at times, it was their defense first mindset. It was, if we keep possession, you can't score, that type of thing. And what Ten Hag offers is a possession-based system, yes, but it's not in any way as boring as what those three managers employed. However, it is different to Ole's. Now, but actually, before we touch on Ole's, Rangnick's system, I think, is good, right? I think Rangnick's system is good enough for a team like United, but it's obvious that they haven't warmed to him yet. They haven't warmed to his tactics yet, and with 5 games left to go in the season, they're not going to, right? So you just brush Rangnick's time at United under the carpet and pretend it didn't happen because nothing went right. But what Ten Hag offers in comparison to Ole is Ole was coming in completely inexperienced, completely naive to the rigours of managing a team as big as Manchester United, and was playing a system which suited United at that time. When Ole took over, United was sitting in that 4th range where they weren't favourites for most games. Ole came in and played this counter-attacking, quick in transition game of football, which worked well, especially against the big teams. That's why he did very well against City. He did serviceably against Liverpool in most games as well. And in most big games, he did well, because his system of sitting back and waiting for the counter and waiting for the transition worked. But when it was his turn to break teams down, as we saw earlier this year, he got Ronaldo, he got these massive signings, he got Jadon Sancho, and now the onus was on him to break teams down. And we saw his tactical ineptitude in that facet of the game. He did not know how to break teams down, and it's all good being able to instruct 10 men to sit behind the ball and lump it long to a target man and then play on the counter. Anyone can do that. Developing a system that can break low blocks down and to break mid blocks down, to play through presses and stuff like this, and to create patterns of play and passing patterns and triangles and what have you. It shows that he was never fit to coach Manchester United. What Ten Hag offers is an experience in managing a big club, because Ajax are a massive club. Let's not underestimate how big Ajax are in Europe, right? And even in Netherlands, it's not even comparable. But they're a massive club. He's got experience. He's not young. He's got experience in managing pretty big teams and for a long time. And his game style is suited to breaking low and mid blocks down. And this is how this is how Ten Hag will instruct his Manchester United team to play to an extent. This is what I've done. Now, this is based off an article that I wrote for Stats Insider a while back. So if you want to read that in its full, if I remember, I'll leave a link in the description. If not, just go on Stats Insider, type in my name, and you'll find it. But yeah, what Ten Hag offers is a very taxing style of football, but not in a out of possession style. Rangnick's system is a very taxing system out of possession. While Ten Hag does employ a high press and it's very intense, it's not as heavy metal high pressing as Rangnick's, right? It is a very, very powerful system. Very, very powerful system. And what it is, it's a 4-2-3-1 of sorts. It's a 4-2-3-1 that in defense plays as a 4-2-3-1. However, in possession, it is almost a elbow formation. Now, if you don't know what an elbow formation is, think of Arsenal with Tomiyasu and Tierney. Tierney would bomb on down the left-hand side. Tomiyasu would come in and play as that right-sided centre-half in almost an asymmetrical three, right? That's what he likes to do. Now, that's what the back four does, right? In terms of in possession, it is a asymmetrical elbow defense, and that transitions into the double pivot in midfield. And now the double pivot in midfield is made up of a clearly defined 6 and a clearly defined 8. Now that 6 currently for Ajax is Edson Alvarez, I'm pretty sure. And what his role is to just sit in front of the back four and protect. Pretty much what Claude Makélélé did for Chelsea all those years ago. Sit in front, break up play the simple ball, and just really keep the ball ticking over. He's not like a Jorginho or a Thiago or even like a Fabinho in the sense. He is very restricted in his role, but it suits him. It suits the overall tactic or the overall philosophy and the tactic, right? Now, what that 6 allows is a much more progressive number 8. So, and also, that number 6 will probably be a new signing under Ten Hag. I don't see him playing Matic there. McTominay, I don't see him playing there, and I don't see him playing Fred there. So you'd think someone would be brought in, right? Now, what this 6 does is it offers freedom to their partner, which is the number 8, which under normal circumstances would be Paul Pogba. I do think he's going to leave. I don't think he will be sticking around for the Ten Hag reign. But just look at Ryan Gravenberch's game at Ajax. It's going to be very similar to that. It's very aggressive, very advanced, gets into advanced positions, maybe 30, 35 yards out from goal when the team's in possession, and then makes those 30-man runs if the ball gets out wide or if there's a goal-mouth scramble type thing. He likes very powerful and explosive players in that role so they can get up and down the pitch and provide that physical presence. And this like asymmetrical formation in the midfield creates a really weird and difficult system to defend against because it's not conventional, if that makes sense. So this sets his system apart, because if you look at other double pivots, say Chelsea's double pivot with Conte and Kovacic, or Conte and Jorginho, or whoever, they pretty much play square on from each other. They get up and down pretty much the same way, and they have very similar roles. This is completely different. They have very different roles. Edson Alvarez and Ryan Gravenberch have very different roles and have different responsibilities within their side. Now, if you move up the pitch, it is now I said it's a 4-2-3-1. However, it can be a 4-2-1-3. And what I mean by that is because the wing backs sit very high and very wide. And another facet of Ajax's team currently is their dominance to the right hand side. Ajax like to play down that right hand side quite a bit. And what it means by that, what it shows by that rather, is that it creates space for the left hand side. Now, while there's a massive overload over the right hand side, what it creates over on the left hand side is a balance. So you have space over for the left winger, and then the left fullback sits in that asymmetrical system in that elbow formation system, but just a little bit more advanced, creeping up to pretty much where the double pivot would normally sit, right? So this overload over the right hand side with the right back, the right centre mid, which is grabbing the Birch or that number 8, and the right winger, is that it creates space over the left hand side. Now this overload is helped by that number 10. Now that number 10 is Dusan Tadic for Ajax, but think of him as like what Antoine Griezmann plays for France. Very free roaming, very expansive way of playing football where he can roam in between the lines, drop deep to collect the ball, and he can get beyond the first striker, play as a shadow striker as a second number 9 as well. So those 4 players dominating that right hand side creates major space over on the left hand side because the whole team gets sucked in. Now that left hand side, for me, that is a perfect role for Jadon Sancho. And I know Jadon Sancho is a right winger, and with United's team, I could very easily seeing Ten Hag mirror his formation and flip it around to play Sancho on the right with Wan-Bissaka as that elbow defender, that defender that holds back, and then overloading the left hand side. I can see him doing that. But what Sancho is good at is taking the ball in space and driving. He's not the quickest winger in the world. He's not lightning quick, but he's very technical, extremely technical. So when he's given space to run into, and when he's given a one-on-one situation with the defender, he'll torch them nearly every time. So the more times you give him that space, the more influence he'll have on the game. So that's why I think that he should play in that role for the Ten Hag team, whether that's on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side, depending on what Ten Hag wants to do. Yeah. And with the number 9, obviously it is, I forgot his name. Haller? Yeah, well, it is. I forgot his first name, but he's having a very good season, and the reason why is that the system completely revolves around the number 9. The number 9 drops deep, creates that extra man in midfield type thing, so it is almost a 4-1, a 4-2-4, but with no striker, because they drop deep, collects the ball, and then make a reverse run into the box with the ball going out wide. So Ajax do love to get balls in behind. That's one of their ways to score, which in the Premier League notoriously doesn't really work because of how deep teams tend to sit, especially when you verse teams in the relegation battles and stuff. They tend to play in low blocks and mid blocks that are very quick to transition to a low block. So that's probably something that Ten Hag needs to adapt his game with and evolve with. But what Ten Hag brings is that a very powerful system. It can be very deadly. Very, very, very deadly. And it's going to be very interesting to watch, man. It's going to be very intriguing to watch because there's something about a Ten Hag team with this United team, with the backing that they're going to give him, which is going to be fucking sexy to watch. And as a Chelsea supporter, I am scared. I am very scared. But, I mean, as a neutral, it's going to be great. If he gets the backing he deserves, and if he gets the players that fit his system, then it's going to be one hell of a watch for Ten Hag next season. And speaking of the players that he would want to get, it is a tricky situation because in my Stats Insider article, I've written down a predicted lineup. Now, I'm looking at this lineup and I see at least, well, there's a couple of players there who would need replacing. And for me, immediately, is that if he's going to stick to this system, is Wan-Bissaka is not fit to be an advanced right back. Scott McTominay needs replacing as a number 6. And Harry Maguire needs replacing as a centre-back, but that's a different story. And you'd think that Ronaldo might move on, and obviously Paul Pogba as well. So there's 3 players, and Ronaldo might move on, but let's just assume he doesn't. Looking at a right-back, it is difficult to say because there's a lot of right-backs that are obviously the modern-day right-back, but for me, the player that screams out, not as a right-back obviously, but as a defensive midfielder, it's Yves Bissouma for me. Now, obviously, I did say Bruno Guimaraes in January. I thought that was the guy that they needed to get. Obviously, he's gone to Newcastle and he's killing it, right? But if they can get Yves Bissouma, pending obviously his legal battle, which I won't touch on this episode. If it evolves, I will touch on. But pending that, hopefully that goes all good, and hopefully that's just allegations at this stage, and like everything is cleared. He's the number one man that United need to get. Number one man. Because he can do a lot that Ten Hag doesn't need him to do. So imagine what he can do when he's just focused on one role. If he can just be focused on playing that defensive midfielder, destroyer role, he could be very good, man. Like, very, very good. And obviously you have Declan Rice as well, who can play that role superbly. He's obviously another option. But obviously you got to look at the price differential, right? Yves Bissouma will probably cost 50 million lower. Declan Rice, 100, 120, right? So there's that for the number 6. For the right winger, I mean, it's tricky because there's a lot on offer, but there's not a lot that are viable. And to replace Paul Pogba, you're thinking someone that can break the lines. You're thinking someone that can take the ball and advance from deep as a number 8. You're thinking someone like a name's not even coming to my head at the moment, but someone like a Jude Bellingham, I think, would fit perfectly in that role. I mean, do United want to spend $450 billion on Jude Bellingham? I mean, it's up to them. But Jude Bellingham, for me, would fit perfectly in that role to be that number 8, alongside someone like a Declan Rice, or he is Bissouma. Right back, take a pick. And then, obviously, the squad does need fleshing out. Luke Shaw potentially isn't the strongest. Marcus Rashford potentially isn't the strongest. Will Ronaldo stay or will he leave? Who knows? Maguire needs to go. De Gea as well. But we spoke about that last episode. So, I think it is the right choice. Overall, I think it is the perfect choice, in fact, because he can do a lot. He can do a lot to transform this team. And this team needs transforming big time. So, hopefully that they can sort it. Hopefully that they can get it done quickly for their sake. And hopefully we can see Erik Ten Hag in the Premier League and seeing just how good he actually is, because it's all well and good doing it for Ajax, with all due respect to Ajax, but if he can do it for Manchester United, then we've got a new manager on the block that can rival Conte and Pep and Klopp and Tuchel and the like. So hopefully that can happen. Will it happen? Who knows? It looks like it's all but certain. Will it pan out the way we all think it's going to pan out? Who knows? But very exciting times for United, and this is probably the first time United fans can get really excited about the team in a long time, because not a lot's going right for them, but hopefully this can turn the tide ever so slightly.